The Terminator is the absolute best DPS weapon, versatile in both dungeons and Kudra, due to its massive clearing potential combined with its general DPS and with its 3 arrows. And not only this, but it can receive numerous buffs, such as using Terror and Ult Enchants, which is quite a funny little feature, which is how you usually get addicted to buying more Terminators. And you, of course, should already know this. In fact, that's why you're here. The Terminator, however good it is, costs a lot of money, and on top of that, it requires you to have gained Enderman Slayer 7, which is an achievement that is not easy, to say the least. So without further ado, let's get into how you, at any stage of the game, can get your first, then second, and possibly third, fourth, and fifth Terminators. Okay, so right before we begin, I just wanted to mention I will be uploading a ton more this month because I need to hit 2.5k by the end of the year, because if I do, I kind of made like a deal that I would get my friends G-Drag. So yeah, please like and subscribe. It just means I'll be making better content as a whole. Yeah, back to your video. So sort of similar to my last video, there will be a bit of liquidating of items, but unlike the previous video, you won't be liquidating everything. Instead, what you will be selling is basically all the stuff that you put into Enderman Slayer and generally nothing else. And of course, you're still keeping your accessories, but yeah, just keep in mind that anything that you put into Enderman Slayer, like all the money, or like the items that you buy from that all goes towards your Terminator, because in the end, you'll be selling all of that and getting yourself a Terminator. So stability, when I'm talking about getting a Terminator, is a little bit different to stability when you're getting Hyperion, because with a Hyperion, since you need so much more money, you should like get into a more like generally like better money making method. While you're getting into a Terminator, this is going to be slightly controversial, but you should try getting into a Rift method, because you won't need as much money, and generally you won't be spending as much time on the actual setup time, because as you know, Rift basically has no requirements. And as long as you finish the main quest line, then after that, all you have to do is a little bit of mo grinding, a little bit of burger grinding, and honestly, you'll just be making 20 to 25 mil an hour without needing to powder grind or do any of that like hot M tree stuff. So, you know, it's a lot easier and you can get into it in any part of the game. So, I mean, if you're hyping, then, well, don't do Vamp Slayer, just do like carrot grinding. And if you're loping, then go do Vamp Slayer, because it is very nice for money, and I mean, you know, you get some boast with it. And generally, if you want to like get multiple terms, or like you want to have a like, general like money making setup for stability when you get a Hyperion, so if you're gonna do dungeons for like your Hyperion, then you don't have to get into mining. But what I'm saying is that if you do get into mining, then you have like another option when you're getting your Hyperion after you got your Terminator. So it's a lot easier after that. So if you've already like finished dungeons, you've already got like F7, you've got like a good setup to do stuff, well, skip like the next two parts because they'll probably be a little bit boring to you. But generally, whenever you start off, just get into dungeons, get yourself F7 comp, make sure you got some Necrons, you can buy that with your stability setup, get yourself a Shadow Fury, and then from there on, get yourself a Crimson Helmet, because after that, you won't be doing too much dungeons for a while. And the Catacombs like levels will help, because you're going to be putting Withered on most of your items when you're doing like Enderman Slayer, because honestly Withered is just always better than Fabled. And really that's about it for dungeons. You'll be getting yourself some combat levels, and yeah, you'll need those. I'm just going to talk about that in the next point. But yeah, just grind your dungeons for a little bit of extra gear so you can actually start your tier 1s and tier 2s. And yeah. So before you get into Slayers, and no matter what part of Skyblock you're at, you'll still need a very good like high combat level, especially for Enderman Slayer, because damage matters a lot. And the best way to truly grind best like combat XP without a hype is to, of course, Bestiary grind. And Bestiary, as you already know, gives you 1 mil XP per 5 tiers, so I won't really elaborate on that. So it's relatively easy to grind. Get yourself to at least combat 35. I should really say combat 40, but I mean, you'll grind a lot of combat XP when you're actually doing the Slayers, since, of course, you're going to be doing them in the Voidling Sepulchre, right? But yeah, if you do that, then generally, like, yeah, you'll have a good amount of combat, so you can actually do your Slayers. like your rev all the way to Sven, so you can unlock Void Bloom. And generally from there, everything is smooth sailing. So yeah, get yourself combat levels, and by E-Man 6, just from grinding Enderman, you should be about combat 45 already and ready to take on tier 4 Void Blooms. So, I mean, now we get to the sort of good part, and that is getting your way through all the Slayers, because of course, now you've got everything, you can absolutely cruise all of them, and just really do all the bare minimum first, then you get yourself, like, Auto Slayer, and after that, if you're, like, really rushing Term, just don't get Rev 8, because, I mean, the healing isn't that good, but, I mean, if you're having problems later, definitely come back and do Rev 8, because it is absolutely broken, and generally, you'll need it for the rest of the game, so do that if you want to, and your Necron set with the Shadow Fury should absolutely carry you through all the first 3 Slayers, and yeah, you'll quickly find yourself on Void Bloom already. So of course, like the general setup that you'll want is when you start off, use your Necron and get the Katanas because they're good. And later on, as soon as you unlock more things, get them, get the things, use an Enderman pet. And if you become like really rich somehow, just like from doing a little bit of dungeons, I don't know how. If you manage that, get yourself like, I mean an artifact or possibly like an E-Drag. But I'm guessing you probably can't survive with that, so just stick with the Mythic E-Man, it's really good. If you do eventually get an E-Drag, then that's great. Just, I mean, it's good for leveling on the side, so if you want to do that. And yeah, just generally finish up your E-Man all the way up to like E-Man 7, and that's basically the setup. If you really want like an in-depth like setup guide to E-Man Slayer, I got like a video on that, so you can watch that. But yeah, that's basically it for grinding Enderman Slayer. So yeah, by the end of this, you will have all the requirements to actually get yourself Terminator. So this is sort of similar to the Hyperion Guide's final part, but instead of selling everything, just sell your E-Man Slayer setup, not the accessories of course, and your setup should give you about 300 to 400 million. If you got yourself an E-Drag and leveled that, well great, you got an extra 70 mil profit from the E-Drag, and you can also resell that, so you have like a really nice amount of money if you want to get yourself a nice Terminator. But I would recommend if you did get an E-Drag, well then probably just spend it on like a dungeon setup or like an actual setup instead of on your Terminator, because that probably matters more. Get yourself a good amount of magic power because you'll need that crit chance a ton. And generally, yeah, if you're low on money still, go lowball. I made a video on that. It's kind of controversial, but you will be making money and you'll probably lose a bit at the start, but generally as a whole, yeah, just learn some lowballing. It's just incredible for money. And I mean, just learn it, it's so good. Wait a second, you can't stop at one Terminator now, can you? And in fact, no, you either probably got yourself a Duplex or a Soul Eater Terminator right there. And of course, you need the other one, don't you? And what about Fatal Tempo? Yeah, so after you've like gotten your first Terminator, what you generally want to do is like either dungeons with like Master Mode or basic to Burning Tier Kudra. And it's likely that you'll be finding yourself doing dungeons as you already have like a generally good stability setup and kind of like a small dungeon setup already. But if you do go and choose to do Kudra, you gain a couple runs with that, and generally that means that later on when you do Kudra, you've got a little bit more experience and game sense. But it's all up to you because, I mean, Kudra can make a bit more money because it's got like more god rolls and the runs are faster. But yeah, just choose one that you find a little bit more fun, and you can always swap whenever you want. So yeah, with that, if you want like a little bit more in depth to that, well, just watch the Hyperion Guide. There'll be some stuff in there that will help you a lot, but yeah. Just generally, if you want more Terminators, go do some dungeons, keep your like stability set up, go do some Kudra, and I mean, yeah, from there on, more Terminators are in fact just really easy to get, because you don't need to go through that entire process of getting Enderman Slayer 7 again. So yeah, that's pretty chill. So congrats, you finally got yourself a Terminator, and possibly even multiple. And officially, you can finally clear insanely and have some fun with Ferocity and Explosive Arrows. Hopefully this guide wasn't too vague like the last one was, and you should still be able to choose your own path to do so. Add a couple steps in between if everything gets way too boring, but generally, don't get burnt out, do some grinding, make some money, and yeah. I mean, as long as you don't absolutely hate Enderman Slayer by the end, that's a win. So I probably will take a small break after this video so I can actually play some Skyblock myself. I've kind of only been making videos, so, I'm literally 100 subs off of 1k now, so thank you so much for all the support, and I guess I'll be seeing you in the next one.